Okay, good morning, everybody. Good to see everyone. Hashem. Okay, so we have is Rivka here. Deska? Here? It's you. Good. Sarah's here? You're here. Malka Levana is here. Yeah, you're here. Michal? No, absent. Maya is here, yes. Rachel Simcha, you're here. And Devorah?
Yeah, she's here.
She's coming. Chava's here. And Devorah is here. Dvananda just walked in, yes. Rachel Shira. I'm sorry, Rivka Shira, excuse me. Yes, you girls are here. Yes, sisters? Okay, got you both. Easier that way. Shana Patush is here. She's coming. Sharon L is here.
I'm on Zoom.
You're on Zoom, okay. Welcome. Sofa Gula, you're here. And Shana Sokolowitz, you're here. Okay, let's begin. Okay. Take out your Sfarim. We are on page 96. So we're discussing various types of vessels. And in today's society, there's a lot of creativity that gets expressed in the kind of vessels you can buy. It's not like you just say, okay, I got a stainless steel pan, I got this and that. It's like you got different colors and you got hybrid vessels that are made from different materials, all I guess to create eye appeal and to attract consumers. This also has conscious implications according to halacha, because how we actually determine whether or not a vessel needs to be toivel depends on what it's made from. As I enumerated last week, just as a refresher, it's made from metal or glass. If it's made from wood, it's not required to be toiveled. Or if it's made from earthenware, it's also not required to be toiveled. And then you have a further example of this would be, let's say, for example, I have an earthenware or a wooden salad bowl, but it's glazed with glass. So the main material of this particular bowl is wood, but there happens to be a thin layer of glass. So there what we do is we toivel it because of the thin layer of glass is touching the food. It's on the inner body of the vessel, but we toivel without a bracha because it's just a very thin layer of glass. It's not really, there's not much chashivas. By the way, parenthetically, many times these thin layers are not actually made of glass, they're made from other synthetic materials, which may mean you don't even have to toivel just, even without a bracha. But if you know it's made with glass, then the thing that we do is to toivel without a bracha in that case. Halacha tezvav. There's a vessel that's glazed with metal or glass. From inside, you have to toivel it. If it's glazed only from the outside, let's say, for example, I have a wooden salad bowl and it's glazed with glass only on the outside of the vessel, no food touches that part, then I do not have to toivel it because it's made from wood. That's where the food touches. And the fact that there's glass on the outside is just for ornamental purposes. It doesn't make a difference. The halacha of tefillah. Ceramic also does not need tefillah. It's like earthenware. Yeah. There are those that say that even a vessel that's glazed with glass on the inside, that's what I just said. Even though you actually toivel it because the food is touching the glass, but you still do not make a bracha, which is how we actually accustom ourselves. That's how we actually do it. But a vessel that's glazed from the inside and the outside, right? So let's say it's lined with glass on the inside and the outside. Then then you toivel with a bracha. Whether or not it's a thick or thin glaze, whether or not you can use it without it, because there we say it's not just for ornamental purposes, because it's more fundamental in that case. An earthenware vessel that's glazed with glass, we have to toivel. An earthenware vessel that's glazed with glass, so it's got a shine to it. To toivel it again without a bracha. A porcelain vessel, שכלי חרס מצובה בזכוכס חיה בתפילה, אך מכיוון שיש פתם בתפילה, יש לטבל בלי ברכה. But since there are those that say you don't have to table it because the glass is just there for ornamental reasons, it's not really serving the food, there's different opinions about it, therefore we table without a bracha. When in doubt, leave it out. That's why we have a klal, safek bracha is lahakil. Whenever you have a safek, whether or not you have to make a bracha, we do it without the bracha. Now, what about if you have the vessel is manufactured in the opposite way? The way the vessel is manufactured is just the opposite. The vessel was made from something that needs tevilah. Let's say, for example, it's a glass bowl. Glass needs tevilah. And happens to be lined with wood. Don't ask me why they did that, but that's how it's done. It's lined with wood, for example. So here you have the opposite scenario. So then you really have a doubt because the food is only touching a material that doesn't need tevilah. It's only touching the wood. So then why should I have to table it? For example, a kli emel, which is a metal that's glazed with some kind of a coloring, like a white coloring on it. So that's the kind of coloring you have on top of on the stoves. For example, let's say you have a Teflon pot. The Teflon material is basically glazing the metal. It's an anti-stick material. We now turn to page Tzadik Ches. So in those cases, with regards to tabling a Teflon vessel, we do table it, but without a bracha. Okay? What happens on the other hand, if you have a kli that was glazed with a color just for beauty, then you table with a bracha, because the color is batal to the kli. A color is also much more of a thin layer than a glaze, usually. So it's batal. Why is that? Because a color is there to enhance the beauty of the vessel, so it's batal to the vessel. A glaze provides a more smooth surface, has other functionalities, and therefore it would generate the need for table. Or not table, depending on what the material was glazed with. I want to share something with you. If you have a situation when you're tabling something that does not, you don't make a bracha. For example, let's say I'm tabling a Teflon vessel. If I have other vessels that need tevilah, it's preferable to table the Teflon vessel together with a vessel that has a chiyuv tevilah with a bracha, so that I can make the bracha on the metal, have in mind also for the Teflon. But if I only have the Teflon, I just table without the bracha. But if I have other vessels to make, so it's better to make the bracha on something that's, obviously that needs the bracha, generates the need, and have in mind for the Teflon as well. Now let's get into Halacha Chafal. We get into other types of vessels, which are very interesting. It's an interesting discussion because in the Chumash it's speaking about Kli Seuda. When the story about the story where the Torah speaks about the need to table vessels, speaks about the loot that the Jews acquired from Midian, from the Mechamis Midian, and that was vessels that they used for preparing food. How do we define Kli Seuda? How do you define vessels that are used for food prep? It's an interesting question, right? There's a certain parameter here. So we have the opinion of the Ksaf Sofer, who holds that vessels that are used for miskar, for Jews, let's say, for example, a manufacturer, let's say you have a Jewish manufacturer, let's say he makes sauces. They have large kettles. So since those sauces are just being used for manufacturing purposes, they're not meant to serve directly to the person. They're meant to be put into a bottle, and they're sold. He's meant to make money through doing it. Therefore, he said that's not in the category of Klei Seuda. Klei Seuda means more of a vessel that are used in more in the immediate sense. Preparatory vessels that I'm using to serve a meal. Now, in the kitchen itself, you have a question. What about vessels that are used in the kitchen, but you don't actually serve with them? For example, let's say a grinder, right? Or a can opener. These are things that you use in the kitchen. You have to have them, otherwise you're going to be stuck. But you don't actually serve with them. You use them as, I would say, a stage one prep to be able to get to the prep to serve the food. But you don't actually put the grinder on the table or the can opener on the table itself. So let's look at that. Halacha Chaf Lefikach blender, v'chein kli mitzupa, v'chein kol kli mitbach sheish b'hem raskim. Any blender, any kind of cutting vessel. You do taivel the parts that touch the food that are made from metal. Let's say, for example, I have a food processor. So there are metal blades. The metal blades need to be taiveled with a bracha. Or for example, let's say I have a pistol, like something I hold in my hand that has a sharp blade on the end, and it's like a smasher. I would table that whole thing as well. But what about, for example, in a food processor, you have parts that are just made from plastic. Plastic, we said, la halacha does not require tvila. The minhag is to tayvel if possible. But if, for example, you have those we call them immersion blenders, right? So you have two parts to it. You have the part that clicks onto it that has the actual blade. That for sure needs tvila because there's a metal piece to it. The other part that's just that holds on the motor, that does not need tvila because it doesn't touch the food. Okay? That's easy. When it comes to, let's say, a food processor where you have, let's say, a big cup that the food sits in, and then you have the blade. So the cup, mitzad chumra, it's a good idea to tayvel. The halacha, it's not required. But the metal piece that actually cuts is required to be tayvel with a bracha. Halacha chav beis. Chayvas rak b'klei seuda. Mekivan shepashas klei midyan aisekas b'klei seuda. Since the parsha of klei midyan is discussing klei seuda, yesharinemer kol davar sheyavar b'eish. It says in the Torah, anything that comes into contact with fire, it's the norm. It's a societal norm to use fire with regards to food preparation vessels, right? You have to have fire for that. Only klei seuda need that kind of kashering. Okay, klei seuda chayav mitzvila. Only klei seuda need tvila itself. So as I said many times, I said this in the previous classes, you don't have to tayvel. Mitzvah they will come, and your husband's saw that he uses on his workbench, or his screwdrivers, or his hammers. These things don't need tvila. Scissors are an interesting question. If you have chicken scissors, you do have to table them because they're used for food. But scissors that are used for cutting paper, you don't have to table. Halacha chav gimel. We're going to give some examples of vessels that are used for klei seuda. The obvious examples, let's say cutlery. For example, cutlery, plates, cups, if they're made from metal, for sure they need to be tabled, or glass and the like. Vessels that are used for drinking or eating. Kagoin, tzalachas v'kais, a plate and a cup. Also vessels that are used for cooking. Afio, baking, tigun, frying, kagoin kedera, like a pot, sear, or a frying pan, or a large pan, and things of that nature. Or other vessels that you need to prepare food. Let's say, for example, a knife that's used for cutting. Sanenes would be, let's say, a strainer. Some kind of grinder. So these things are all called klei seuda because they're used directly for food prep. Halacha chav daled gets into the classification that's only called klei seuda if the food touches that device. So, for example, if I could, is there a marker? Can you? Yeah, there's a marker here. I'm going to try and draw something, but again, I've given this disclaimer many times. I'll do it again. The artist in the Hanoka family is my wife, not me. But okay, this is an oval. Here we go. An oval. Let's say this is an oval glass dish. The glass dish has to be toiveled. But if I have, let's say, a whole plate of chicken in here, it's very hot. You can't hold it. So it comes with, let's say, a metal casing that it sits in. It's got wiring on the side. So there's a casing over here for handles, and it's got wiring all the way on the bottom, all the way through, etc. That metal casing does not touch the food, so therefore, even though it's made out of metal, it does not touch the food. It does not need tefillah. The glass dish itself would need tefillah because the food touches it, but not the casing on the outside. And the same would actually be, let's say I have a wine bottle opener. So it's a corkscrew. It's made out of metal, but the corkscrew is not designed to touch the wine. It could be it touches it once, sometimes accidentally, but it's not designed for that. Does not need tefillah. The same would be with a can opener. Also not designed to touch the food. It's accidental if it happens. Therefore, there's no need to be toivel in that case. Those are examples of things that are, even though you use them in the kitchen, but they're not designed to touch the food, and therefore you don't have to toivel them. They're the same thing as your future husband's workbench and his saws, his hammers, all that stuff. It doesn't have to be toiveled. Halacha chav gimel. I'm sorry, Chavdalit. Hakli nikra kli suda rakim negei hakli b'maichel atzmei aval basa kli shein mechubel kli and it's tefillah. A base for a vessel, that's the example I gave before. The base that doesn't actually touch the food does not need to be toivel. So, for example, the grates that you have on a stovetop, right? They're made out of metal in some cases. You don't have to toivel them because the pot sits on them. The food does not sit on them. And even if food spills on them, it's not designed to hold food. If food spills on them, it's like, oh no, I have to wash it, I have to clean it. It's a mess. And we turn the page. Also, the grates that you have in a large oven, you don't generally speaking put food directly on such a grate. In a toaster oven, you may put toast directly on there, but in a large oven, you don't really want to put things there because crumbs fall down. Usually you put like a foil down. So it's not really designed for direct food contact. Therefore, large grates in an oven do not require tevilah, even though they're metal, but they're not designed to actually touch the food. They're really just a support system to hold your pots or pans that are going into the oven. Yeah.
Sorry. If I decided I have just like, for example, one oven, and I decided it's milking, and I didn't use it like for, let's say, 2 days. Can I make their halas, which are parva, and use it during the meal? Like,
it's a good question, but I'll answer it after class because it's not quite on the topic we're studying. I want to just keep the focus. It's fine. I'll be happy to help you. Okay. Yeah. So for example, let's say, for example, I have a vessel that holds tea bags that are covered or that hold little sugar packets. Again, it doesn't actually touch the food. It does not need tevilah. On the other hand, let's say I have a bread basket that's made out of metal. A lot of times it's made out of wood, which would need tevilah anyways. But if it's made out of metal and I line it, let's say, with a doily, just to make it beautiful, to make it look nice, put some kind of a napkin in there, then it still would need tevilah because the napkin is there just for beautifying the actual vessel. We learned before that beautification is bottled to the vessel itself. So if the actual body of the bread basket is made from metal, it needs tevilah. If it's made from wood, it doesn't need tevilah, but if it's made from metal, it needs tevilah. What about the cover, the lid of a vessel? Halacha Chafei. We're now on page 100. If the food never touches the cover of the vessel, it does not need tevilah. But if it does, it does. Usually, by the way, when you cook and you cover something in a pot, the food will bubble and touch the lid at some points. Therefore, we know you have to table the lid as well. Therefore, when it comes to a vessel that's used with a cover, by cooking, you have to for sure table the cover itself because the cover itself is going to be affected by the cooking process, is going to touch food at some point in time. Because it's the normal way that the food is going to bubble and touch the top, and it's going to touch the actual cover. I spilled the beans because Halacha Vav speaks about something I just said 3 minutes ago. Poischen bakbukim, let's say bottle openers, like a wine opener, like a corkscrew, or the can opener, things of that nature. And even if I have, let's say, a metal cork, just meant to cover wine, it doesn't have to be tabled because they're not designed to touch food. Meaning to say that if the food touches it incidentally, it's not called klei suda because it wasn't built that way. It's built as a cover, and you don't bubble, you don't cook the wine in the bottle. So there's no worry about the actual wine going up and touching the top. Any questions on what I said so far? Yes.
I've seen people using the metal beam that is on the stove, like to burn like food, like I don't know.
Really interesting. Directly on the grate.
Yeah.
Like Chatzili Maleish.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Doesn't it make a mess though?
Yeah, it does.
I would think they would want to put some kind of a metal, like a tinfoil down under it or something, no?
No.
You want to direct fire.
It has to be directly on fire.
Right, to create that. So then I think if you did that regularly, you should table it, yeah. Chayra. It really depends on what a person, I'm sorry?
It makes a difference whether you do it regularly or it's like a one-time thing.
If it's not the derech to do it, then I don't think you have a chiyuv to do it. But on the other hand, I don't know, I'm thinking about it some more. If you have a kavanah to do it, then for you, that's klei su'udah. Another person who comes to visit your house and does it on your grate does not have the power to make your grate a klei su'udah. But for you, if you're the owner of the vessel, you would have to table it in the chayra. Good question.
Does the heat, let's say it's like the grates, right? But they're always on the fire. Does the fire have any effect or does it have to be, would it have to be like a nurse?
No, the fire is a different thing. The fire is a cooking process, but the tefillah is a purification process. It's a separate thing.
Because I know that to like go through sometimes to kosher something, you put it
On fire,
on fire.
for sure, yeah. Now, koshering is also a purification process, but a different kind.
But it's a different kind.
It's a physical purification process.
Okay.
Tefillah is a spiritual purification process.
Okay.
That means you'd have to table grill grates.
Yes, that's correct. Because there, it's designed for the meat to go directly on it. That's correct. Although some people don't put the food directly on it because they don't want to have to scrape the grill every time they finish cooking. So I know, like I don't really grill in the city, but in the country, my wife told, she likes to have it where we grill on pans itself, because that way we don't have to clean the grill. The grill always stays clean that way. So since I'm not really touching the grate itself, I'm only using it through pans, then I would not have to tevel my grates. But if you put, let's say, steaks directly on the grill itself, we never need to tevel them, yeah.
What if the grates are like attached to the whole thing?
They're not removable.
Yeah,
Is that, do they ever make it that way? I've never seen that.
no, okay.
They make them removable because you have to be able to clean them. I don't think it's not removable. I think it's always, they usually sit down on a casing, but on a housing unit, they sit down. Yeah. Okay, Jewish life at its best. Baruch Hashem.
I heard that there are times when, let's say they do have like, different equipment where it's not, you can't pull it apart. And if you would like dump the whole thing in water, then it would destroy the.
Okay, so we'll discuss that. That's an excellent question as well. So it discusses that at the end of our subject, which is probably, we're going to get to probably next week, but I'll just tell you briefly that there is a concept that if you have a vessel that needs to be toivel but cannot be toivel because it's going to get ruined. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a coffee maker that has an electronic motherboard. You put that inside the mikveh, finished, it's over. It's waterlogged, it's gone. It's not like it's going to dry out after a few days. It's a computer chip, forget it, it's over. So that's an example of something you cannot toivel. Other things you could toivel, you have to dry out, like a coffee urn, a hot water urn. You can toivel. You have to let it sit like upside down, dry it out for 3-4 days, till it's totally dried. So it depends on what we're talking about. There is a concept known as selling the vessel or gifting the vessel to a non-Jew, because the obligation to toivel a vessel only rests upon a vessel that's owned by a Jew. So if I have a kosher vessel that's owned by a non-Jew, that's borrowed back by the Jew, there's no need to toivel. Now, the downside of the system is that I'm being mafsid the bracha biyadayim. I'm losing an opportunity. I'm forgoing an opportunity to make a bracha, which is not ideal. So in a case where there's a very strong duress, sometimes
I know the Pesach when COVID first started, people did that.
Yes, that's correct. And the Rabbanim came out with a letter about that. So there's such a concept, but it's used carefully. We don't use it like very liberally. We use it under certain circumstances. There's no other choice.
So what do you do if you can't ruin the vessel?
If you can what?
If you can't destroy.
So then, like I said, you can sell it to a guy. Okay, the example I gave you. There's another thing I want to say is that a vessel that's a plug-in, usually these vessels are electronic. A vessel that's plugged into the wall is also a little bit easier because it's not considered to be like considered to be attached to the ground, because the only way to use it is by grounding it into electricity. If it's attached to the ground, it's a little bit of a different category. So it's another. It's not a reason by itself to be lenient, but together with the fact that it's going to get ruined, it's another reason why we allow it to sell it to a non-Jew, to gift it to a non-Jew.
Wait, like just by plugging it in, it actually turns it into a different.
becomes a vessel that's attached to the ground. How it's viewed. Why is it attached to the ground? Because you can only use it by attaching it to the ground.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it's unusable. It's not worth anything.
How do you sell it to non-Jew, like if there are comments?
You give it to the non-Jew. They should pick it up, give you like $1 for it, buy it from you. Doesn't have to be at full face value. They should buy it from you,
And then they give
and
it
then you
back.
borrow it back from them. It's something. In fact, my son's friend just he won a pizza maker, a Betty Crocker pizza maker, from his. He got as a prize. We earned it in school. So he was asking me, what's he going to do? It has to be titled. And I told him that if this is going to get ruined if you title. I guess it's got a lot of cavity openings. I don't know what. I didn't actually see the open box, but I saw the box. I told him if he has to, he can sell it to the guy and buy it back. Not buy it back, excuse me, borrow it back. Gift it or sell it to the non-Jew, then borrow it back. Okay. I told you the story about Chodesh Adar last week with my father and the Rebbe. No? Anyone remember that? The house? I'll say it again. Yeah, you heard that story?
You didn't tell us, you told before.
I did say it. I'll say it again. So that sounds like a lot of girls didn't hear it. In Chodesh Adar, I was born in New Jersey, and my parents were moving from New Jersey to Monsey because my father had a change of job. He got a job in the Monsey area. The Rebbe gave him a bracha for that in Tarrytown. It was his place of occupation that time. And we had to move to Monsey, so they had to sell their house. They put the house on the market. In those days, I'm talking about in the just give me a second, I have to make a calculation in my head. 1976, about. So the houses were selling for about $32,000 in that block. So that's what he asked for, around that price. But he was getting very low offers, getting offers of 29, whatever, below market value. This is a Chodesh Shvat. He wrote to the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe what to do. The Rebbe said, wait till Chodesh Adar to market the house. Wait another month, because it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Bari Mazli, the mazel of the Yidden is good and very strong. So he waited another month and he put the house on the market. And not only did he get the asking price of $32,000, someone came and offered him above the asking price and gave him $36,000, which was a lot of money, 15% more than asking price. It's a huge sum of money in those days. So it was a clear bracha from the Rebbe. And then we moved to Monsey. That's another story. I'm going to tell you another story. This is just a cute story from childhood. Actually, two stories I'll tell you. When I was a kid in Monsey, there was it's okay to tell stories. It's kishmak to get a taste of Jewish life. No, it's good, right? It's maskim, everyone agrees? When I was a kid in Monsey, there was a time that on Shabbos, Jews were getting beaten up on their way to shul. There was some hoodlums that were causing trouble. I don't remember all the details. Thank God I never experienced it, but so a bunch of police, they created a unit of police officers that were dressed like Hasidim on Shabbos, wearing their walkie-talkies, their guns, but wearing long bekishes like chapatas and hats, and they had fake payas and beards, and they were waiting to be jumped so they can catch the hoodlums. They were like, decoys. And we as kids had such a good time with it. We were looking at every chassid. He's a decoy, he's real, We just had such a good time with that. It was very, very, very special.
Were you able to tell?
I could tell. I was able to tell, yeah, because we grew up with it. We knew, but it was a pretty good fake. Someone didn't know who was able to. There's actually there's a guy, someone I know he's a Lubavitcher chassid, lives in Flatbush. He also became a Lubavitcher that way. There was a time in Crown Heights in the 70s also when this was going on, and the police did the same thing. They dressed up like Hasidim, and he was one of them. He was not religious at the time, police officer. And the Lubavitcher Chassidim, they drafted him in to a shir, and he became a Lubavitcher, this police officer. It's a fascinating story. His name is Yeshua Weber. Yeshua ben Chava Gittel. He needs a little fool. He's getting better, Baruch Hashem. But he's the one who told me the story that he used to work night shifts in the police department. And he wrote to the Rebbe that he has one night a week that he can't, he's home. He doesn't have to work at night. It's Friday night. What should he learn? The Rebbe said, you have one night a week at home. You have to spend time with your wife. Such a special Rebbe we have. The Rebbe sees everything for what it is. Anyway, the other story I was going to tell you is that when I was a kid in Monsey, we went to, my father used to take me on Friday nights to a shul from a Polish Rebbe. Polish rabbi from the Holocaust times. This is in the 70s. I was a kid then. He was a rabbi who survived the Holocaust. He was mamish. The Yid was living on a different plane. He and his wife did not have any children, but he was the happiest man I ever met. And on Shabbos, he davened with a lot of. I mean, it's not the Lubavitch style. He davened with a lot of islavos, a lot of feeling of fervor, dancing, like a lot of joy in the davening. And his face was shining like this brightest light you can imagine. And I used to just look forward to. I was only like 7 years old, 6 years old. I just look forward to going Friday night just to experience that kind of energy that he exuded. Very special. Anyway, okay. Should I tell you one more story now? Tell you another story. There was a Yid, the Kleisenberger Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Levracha. He passed away the same week as the Rebbe, 5 days later. His yahrzeit, I believe, is Ches Tammuz. And the Rebbe, he for the last like 5 or 6 years of his life, he was not well. So the Rebbe said, they said Mishaberach by the Rebbe's minion for him. His name was Rav Yekusiel, Yehuda, maybe Moshe. He had a very long name, like 3 names, and then his mother's name was a few names. It was hard to remember. So there were times when the Gabi was making Mishaberach by the Rebbe's minion, and the Gabi forgot the whole name, and the Rebbe filled in the name by the Rebbe's minion. Anyway, it's very close to the Rebbe. So when I was in Monsey, my brother, his teacher, was a Kloisenberger Chassid. And he wasn't just an ordinary Chassid. This man was like, he was a thoroughbred Chassid, the real deal, a full, very, very devout Chassid. He was like a man in his 70s, long white beard, and he was an excellent educator. He used to go to the students, and he just educated them with so much love. So there was a time when the Kloisenberger Rebbe was having an operation. So he called the Kinus Tefillah. He arranged for the whole yeshiva to say Tehillim for the Rebbe. Such a tzaddik. So we all got together. I was about 7 or 8 years old. My brother was, I think, 12 at the time. I was 9 years old. My brother was 13. I don't remember exactly, around that age. And the Kloisenberger Rebbe, his chassid, Rabbi Mashinsky, he led the tefillah. He led the saying of the Tehillim. He said that Tehillim was so much fervor, so much emotion. This is 45 years ago when I was a kid. I still remember the moment to this day. It was imprinted on my psyche and my soul. Anyway, it's very special. Okay, let's continue. What about storage vessels? Actually, no, we're up to Chav Zayin. Halacha Chav Zayin. A vessel that's used to prepare food, but it's not fully ready yet. It's only partial prep. For example, could go in sakin shchita. A sakin shchita is a knife that's used to shecht an animal, but it's only the first stage of food preparation, because first I have to shecht, then I have to salt the meat, then I have to cook the meat. It's a lot of steps before I'm actually going to be able to eat that meat. So the sakin shchita, does it need tefillah or not? There's a machlekes about it. Some opinions say it needs tefillah, some opinions say it does not need tefillah. Therefore, when in doubt, leave it out. We toivel without a bracha. The same principle applies. What about, this is another childhood favorite memory of mine, stuffing from chicken. It's mamish geschmack when your mother makes stuffing and chicken, right? Good stuff. So the needle itself that's used for the stuffing, it's not really, you're using it for preparing food, but it's not actually cooking the food, whatever, etc. Matchenes basar, matchenes coffee, or let's say a coffee grinder, or something that's used for kneading. It's best to table these things without a bracha, because they do have some connection to the food prep, but it's not so direct, and therefore we table without a bracha. Or we table together with something that needs a bracha and have in mind for everything. But if something that grinds vegetables, there for sure you make a bracha, because you're grinding something that's edible the way it is. So it's a direct food contact type of a application, therefore needs a tefillah with a bracha. And so to a peeler that peels potatoes, even though the potatoes are not edible raw, but it also is used to peel vegetables that are edible raw. For example, carrots, or cucumbers, or even apples. So since it's peeling things that are edible the way they are, therefore the chi of tefillah with a bracha. Halacha Chav Ches. What about a vessel that's used just for storage? Now we get into Tupperware. Is it still popular today, Tupperware? I think it is. Tupperware is Tupperware is a whole line of products just for storage. You don't take a Tupperware vessel and put it onto the stove. You don't cook on it, but you just use it for storage. So what's the question now? What's the din of storage? Is storage in the gather? Is it in the classification? Does it fit the parameters of Klei Suda or not? You just put food in there. It's just a storage vessel. You don't actually use it. You don't actually eat from it. You don't drink from it. You don't cook in it. You table without a bracha. Because there are those that say it's not called Klei Suda and it does not need tevilah because it's just used for storage. It's a whole separate category in and of itself. Anyways, they're made from plastic. So you have another reason why you could be mako there.
They have the glass ones that you can
Okay,
put out
okay.
in the microwave.
Granted, that's very different. If it's in a microwave and you're cooking in it, it's different. But if it's just for storage, it's glass, then you can have a heter, not a table, but then it's better to table without a bracha. Okay? Halacha Rav Tes. We'll do one more halacha and then maybe I'll give you another story. We'll see. How do we determine whether or not the vessel is going to be used for food prep? It depends on you, the owner. When you go to the store, if you go to Staples and you buy yourself a good pair of scissors and you say, I'm going to use this to cut my chicken, then you are miyached these scissors that are ordinarily used to cut paper, you're miyached to cut chicken, and therefore you have to table it. So you have the power to define whether or not it's Klei Suda or not. Now we turn to Kuf Beis, the next page. Let's say I bought these chicken scissors because I want to use them to cut my chicken, and the design is chicken scissors. But before I used them, I changed my mind. I said, you know what? I'm in the arts and crafts business. I'm going to use them to cut paper. I'm using it, so therefore it does not need tefillah because I'm using it in an application that does not need tefillah. Therefore, there's no problem. A vessel is not used; it's not designed for eating, for food prep. I just gave this example. For scissors that I use for cutting, if I use the scissors to cut vegetables, to cut chicken, then you have to table them. Another example I'm going to give you. Let's say we move to Hawaii. And we eat a lot of coconuts. So I buy a hammer. This hammer is going to be my hammer for smashing coconuts open. That also would need tefillah then because I'm designing it, I'm designating it as a Klei Suda. I take a small hammer, like one of those like tacking hammers, and that's going to be, I'm being miyached. So therefore it has the chashivas of Klei Suda, then you have to take with a bracha. Okay, who wants to hear another story? Or you want to learn some more? What do you want? Suda story? Okay, we'll stop by Halacha Lamed. Tell another story. Let's see, we're now in Chodesh Shvat. No, on Adar. I'm just thinking about the Frierdiker. I'll tell a story about the Frierdiker Rebbe because Tes Adar is the day the Frierdiker Rebbe came to America. So I'll tell a story about the Frierdiker Rebbe. The story with the Frierdiker Rebbe. I told you the one about the. I have to remember who it. You see, I tell so many stories. I don't remember who I told what to. That's a whole other cheshbon. Story about the deck, actually. Okay, I don't remember a story about Frierdiker Rebbe that I didn't say to you yet. I'm trying to think. Okay, I'll tell a story about the Rebbe. My teacher in Yeshiva, Rabbi Cement of blessed memory. He was my manal, my principal, and my teacher. I learned a lot from him. I'm very grateful. He taught me how to learn Gemara. Anyway, so I'll tell a story that he told me. When he was a bacher in 770, this is like in 1952, early years. Actually, no, this story happened in the 40s, like 47. It was before the Rebbe was a Rebbe. What happened with the Rebbe? Now I remember the story, yeah. So it was hard to get Sfarim in those days. The Rebbe came into the Zal, for the boys, the Bachrim are learning, and asked any of the Bachrim to have a certain sefer. The Rebbe was looking for a certain sefer. Rabbi Simen had that sefer. He lent it to the Rebbe. He gave it to the Rebbe. Seems like the Rebbe had it for quite a bit of time. And after a while, he asked the Rebbe was called the Ramash then, because it was before the Rebbe was Rebbe. He asked the Rebbe for the sefer, to get the sefer back. But then he had like charata, he had regret that he was even asking the Rebbe to give the sefer back. So he said to the Rebbe, I don't need the sefer. Like as if to say to the Rebbe, you can keep the sefer. And the Rebbe corrected him and said, regarding a sefer, we don't say I don't need it. You never say I don't need it. There's also a story that happened with in the times of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Rebbe Tzunach Medina, the Bachrim were playing outside. The Frierdiker Rebbe lived on the second floor of 770. Okay, that was his apartment. There's a porch there. So Rebbe Tzunach Medina wanted to buy the boys in the yeshiva. They were playing like a ball. So she asked around to find out what the best kind of ball is. They were playing like punch ball. So she was told that the Spalding brand is a good ball to buy. So she bought balls for all the boys. And when they were playing outside, from the second floor porch, she threw down the balls to the boys. One by one, they each got the ball to play with. Now I'll tell a story about the, after the Frierdiker Rebbe's Estalkus. This is like right after Tafshin Yud. There were very few people that had cars. Very few Chassidim had cars then. One Chassid had a car then. He was still a Bachar, I believe, at the time. His name is Rabbi Yisrael Gordon. He's still alive today. He needs a refuah. Yisrael Gordon. So he told me the story. I think he told me the story. I don't know it happened to him. A very funny person, a special person. He was also Bal Qaeda. So he said that he was asked to drive the Rebbetzin Medina, and the Rebbetzin Chaim Mushka, mother and daughter, to drive them to Manhattan. It was after the Estalkus of the Frierdiker Rebbe. So I think they need to get out, just to get out a little bit. So he drove them to Manhattan. I don't remember where he drove them to. Maybe it was to a store. He waited in the car, dropped them off at a store, and maybe they also went to a library. I don't know exactly where they went. I don't remember that part of the story. But he drove them a couple of times. And as a form of thanks for driving them, they bought Yisrael Gordon a watch. It's a gift. Nothing went unnoticed, I'm just saying. There's also a story with the Rebbe, Rabbi, this is another story, and I'll close this, almost finished. Rabbi Gorelick, the Shliach in Italy, right? From Italy, right? From Italy. So maybe you know the story. But he used to come to the Rebbe would always tell him to buy a gift for his wife before he went back. If he came by himself. So one time he bought his wife a watch. He brought 2 watches to the Rebbe and asked the Rebbe which watch he liked better. He asked the Rebbe's opinion, which watch he should buy for his wife. It's very interesting, Bichlal, to have such a conversation with the Rebbe. But the Rebbe was so careful about all these details. And the Rebbe said, I like this watch, but I like this band. Go back to the jeweler, see if they can switch the band from this watch onto this face, and that's what he did. So there was such a slabsha, such an enclosement, such an embodiment of all these details into the finer things in life. That's Dira B'Tachtoinim. Good Shabbos. You know that story? Tzvara, did you know that story?
No.
Quite a story, huh?